Hi, everybody. My name is Danae Mobley. I am the CEO of Coded By, and I'm here to have a great conversation today with Kate Rivera and Andy Stutzman on a conversation about digital access and where Philadelphia is and some of the work that's been going on behind the scenes that's about to be released as we talk about some of the updates to digital access and digital equity in the city of Philadelphia. What's been really great about this is that this work we've been able to do with One Philadelphia over some time alongside some great community partners, and the Technology Learning Collaborative has been one of those. And when we talk about the work that's being done, focusing on getting the true infrastructure needed for digital access and making sure that the broader ecosystem and all Philadelphians have access to technology and innovation, we really wanted to look and see what was the history of the work that has been done, where we've been, where we are and truly where we want to go with the work. And because of that collaboration, we were able to create in partnership this new digital access report. It came to life a little bit later last year, and now we're able to release that report. So we're going to have a conversation today about unpacking what's behind that report and just understanding like what that report tells us and why it matters right now. So before we jump in, I just like for Kate and Andy to introduce themselves. So Kate, I'm going to start with you. Can you just share your role, organization, and tell us a little bit about what your work is?
Absolutely. So, Kate Rivera, I am the executive director of the Technology Learning Collaborative, or TLC. We are what's known as a digital equity coalition. So, I'll actually start by giving you all just laying the groundwork of the definition for digital equity. When we talk about digital equity, what we mean is that everyone has access to three basic things. One is internet that is reliable and affordable. The second is a computer or other device that meets their needs. And the third is that they have the digital skills that they need in order to use those tools to accomplish their goals. And those goals can really range. We know that technology touches on every aspect of our lives. So those goals can range from education, finding a job, access to healthcare, social connection, kind of all the pieces of our lives and all of the opportunities for community empowerment are all kind of gained through access to technology. So that's digital equity. And then TLC is a digital equity coalition. We are a nonprofit that, rather than providing direct services ourselves, we support and convene the ecosystem of organizations that are working on digital equity across the greater Philadelphia area.
Thank you, Kate and Andy. Can you share a little bit about yourself?
Sure. My name's Andy Stutzman. I'm currently an independent consultant working in the digital equity and tech education space. And I'm consulting currently with a technology learning collaborative, which I've been involved with for many years as well. I have a background at the national level working in digital equity and broadband policy, and it's nice to come back to Philadelphia and be able to use that work, working with local universities and nonprofits like One Philadelphia.
Wonderful. All right. I want to start at the beginning. It might be hard to do that, right? Because this is actually spanning 2 decades of work and all the really important initiatives that have happened in Philadelphia. So I want to talk about kind of spark the need for this report. Why was it so important to document that right now?
So one of the things that we talked about early on, the timing for this was great because the federal government was taking away actions from the Digital Equity Act and the BEAD program, which is the Broadband Equity Access and Deployment Grant from the National Telecommunications and Information Administration. And so that was funding that was going away for services that we were using in Philadelphia and were being used across the country at the time. So it was just a great time to reflect on that. And also it was the end of the 5-year plan for Philadelphia's digital equity plan that they had put out there in 2020. So it was just a really good time to kind of reflect on what had been done over the last 20 years. What are the outcomes from that digital equity plan that the city had put out, and what are the effects of the current changes in the changes in the current administration at the federal level?
Yep. So when we're looking at that timestamp where we were, it was one, there was kind of a sense of, well, knowing this, what do we do? How do we move forward? Right? Because the work can't stop. So we really had to think about, okay, let's take an assessment of where we currently are and where we need to go. So, Kate, can you just maybe talk a little bit about what were some of the key gaps and the challenges that the report is trying to address?
Absolutely. Well, we are really at a critical moment for digital equity in Philadelphia and really across the country. We saw an increase in kind of interest and funding for this work during the pandemic when it really hit home for a lot of folks how critical technology has become in our lives. And so we did see an increase in investment in this work during that time, but we're at a point now where much of that increased attention and investment has ebbed. And as Andy shared, some anticipated federal funding was canceled. And so we are at a point where many organizations who are doing absolutely critical work in Philadelphia to make sure that our most vulnerable residents gain access to the internet and the technology that they need in their lives, that those organizations are facing funding cuts, are facing laying off staff, and not being able to provide those services to the community anymore. And so, part of what we're looking to do with this report is to really highlight all of the important work that has been happening in Philadelphia, where there are opportunities to do more of that work and continue to iterate and improve our services. But even more than that, really just the critical need to invest in this work now so that we make sure that we are not leaving community members behind.
Absolutely. As we're all doing this work, every one of us is invested in these communities because we understand that on the ground, the lived experiences of people, there are a lot of things that are happening that we need to be addressing urgently. So I'm really happy that we were able to kind of collaborate on this partnership and get this pen to paper so that more people could really read and understand in this report what's at stake if action isn't taken. So to either of you, can you just talk a little bit about if someone reads this report, what are they going to find in the pages of this report? Like at a high level, what is it telling us about digital access in Philadelphia?
One of the things I really wanted to highlight initially in this report is just the incredible investment that the city of Philadelphia and the nonprofit organizations, higher education, have put into digital access over the last 20 years, and just really highlight the great work. We are kind of an example of what for people to follow and what we've done. And I think this laying that out and showing people what we have done and the actions we've taken was incredible. And I think it was also important for the new mayoral administration to see that work as well, just so they can kind of see and understand that history that Philadelphia has in this arena as well, to help us make it better, but to help better inform decisions that are going forward.
This report really is a great reference for anyone who may be new to this topic or someone who's been involved in this work because it really goes through the history of digital equity work in Philadelphia, which we have a really rich history of, and then it dives in a little bit to the current state and looking at the city's 5-year digital equity plan and what progress has been made towards that plan. And then we close out with some recommendations and thoughts for how we can really sustain and grow this work into the future.
Wonderful. So let's talk a little bit about those recommendations. Maybe each one of you, if you had a recommendation that you would really want people to pay attention to, which one? I know they're all important, but which one would it be?
For me, it's the computer distribution and refurbishing. There's a great opportunity for Philadelphia as a community to come together to actually create a better ecosystem for recycling and refurbishing computers and adding to that distribution of those. As the report talks about, so many people might only have cell phones, or they may have an older tablet or something at home, but they don't have a laptop computer. They don't have a computer that's workable to help them create resumes, help them do job searches, or just the general things that we do in life. So having a regular ecosystem where we can contribute good working refurbished computers out to the community, I think is really important.
The recommendation that I would highlight is to increasing local investment in digital access. The work can't happen without investment, without funding.
Mm.
And as I mentioned earlier, we are facing funding cuts at this time to so many of these critical programs when really what's needed in our communities is for these programs to grow. And so we really need local stakeholders from different sectors to come together and put our heads together and figure out how we can invest in this work because it's important for our communities and it's important for our local economy. It's the kind of investment that you see returns from. So investing in digital equity means that then government is spending less on supporting people with benefits or insurance companies have less to cover as far as healthcare needs. As people are getting their healthcare needs met sooner and they're not going to the hospital when they don't need to be. It means, more people have a better paid employment and they're able to contribute to the tax base. Like all of these pieces, it's so critically important for our community members who we all care about. It's also so critically important for our economy and, the kind of investment that you really it cover, more than covers itself.
Yeah, Kate, absolutely. To anyone on the outside, it may seem that we sit on, two opposite sides of a continuum, but yours is the foundational investment that allows all these other things to happen. When we talk about the infrastructure required, when we talk about K education, when we talk about pathways to being a technologist, when we talk about investment founders, all of these things, like the work that, we do with One Philadelphia, in order for that to be true, people need access early on and we need equitable access. So this is a really critical piece to the puzzle that if we get this right, we will see those dividends over and over again. So making sure we get that early investment is truly truly critical. So kind of even talking about that, let's talk a little bit more about what are the risks if we don't act, if we don't invest. Uh, what's going to be happen? What is going to be the outcome if we don't truly invest in this work?
Local governments started changing their budgets. Philanthropy started to shift to different directions, seeing this funding coming in. Now, with the federal government pulling away all that funding, it's difficult for everyone to kind of pivot all of a sudden and say, "How do I fill these gaps? How do I offer these services now?" Well, it's not just in Philadelphia; it's across across the country right now. As we're seeing that shift in funding and everyone trying to pivot back.
So as we're trying to think about that kind of pivoting back and that risk, if we don't pivot, if we don't make the space, what's that going to look like?
So if we are not investing in digital equity work in Philadelphia, we are going to see our communities suffering because this, again, access to the internet and technology is such an important part of our lives in so many different ways. So if you think about a young person in school who may not be able to complete their homework at home and then falls down in school, it could be someone who's no longer in school who maybe missed the opportunity to graduate and is trying to go back and get their GED, but they can't study. They don't take the online classes to do that because they don't have sufficient internet and a computer at home. It could mean someone who is unemployed and can't find a job, struggles to fill out an online application, doesn't have the base digital skills that they need in order to gain employment, or someone who may be stuck in a lower paying job and can't take that next step up to a better family sustaining wage because they don't have those digital skills. This could be someone who is not able to adequately manage their health care because they can't figure out how to log into an online portal or do their own research on how to take care of their health conditions. And many more of these types of examples. This is what we're at risk of seeing in our city, seeing there's already some of these people already struggling with this, and even more will be if we're not investing in this work.
And also having this regular funding and that you can rely upon makes our work easier in some ways, right? It makes services more ubiquitous, makes us be able to grow our ecosystem and share those resources and make sure that, everyone has access to those and knows how to use them. But I will say that Philadelphia is resilient and it will find a way to get things done, but it's going to be harder and it may not be as robust as it could be. We won't be able to meet all the needs that are out there right now. But I think that's an important thing just to show them because Philadelphia has that track record. And I think some of the history in this document and the report shows that, we're scrappy, right? We're resilient. We'll get things done, but it won't be done at the level it could be done if that funding was there to make things easier.
Absolutely. And I think what we all know is that Philadelphians are deserving of getting all that they need. So now that we know this, we have this report in hand, we're getting ready, for it to be released. Now, what's going to happen next? What are the results of this report and what are you looking to see as an outcome of the report?
Yeah, I think it would be helpful if my goal for this report, I would say, is taking the summary and be able to communicate with the city more and saying, okay, what are the next steps? You had the 5-year digital equity plan. What are your next steps here? And how can we work as an ecosystem to support you in that work? And how can we share what we think are the needs based on the summaries and the actions we put in here? And how can we work together to get those done? I'll also say that some of the work I'm doing with TLC right now is kind of growth and outreach. This trying to reach out to who's not in the room right now. So who are we not talking to that has needs and may not be aware of those resources and really kind of growing that ecosystem, as I was saying, and growing knowledge and awareness of the resources that are out there right now.
I hope this report can be a call to action for people and organizations across sectors to really come together understand the needs in our communities and invest in organizations who can help meet those needs. We have an amazing track record in Philadelphia of doing this work. The work always takes investment and funding. We also really emphasize collaboration in this work. And so having all the different voices in the room, having all of the different stakeholders from across different sectors coming together is a really important part of making sure that we are going to be effective, aligned, and really make a systems level impact. And so we hope that, hearing this report, understanding this report, understanding these needs in our communities, that everyone can really come together to make sure that we are addressing the digital divide.
And that's what it's gonna take, right? It's gonna take everyone coming together at the institutional level, organizations, philanthropic, government, everyone coming together kind of under this common vision and really understanding like where it is that we go next. So, how do you want these organizations to come together, right? How do you want them to engage in the work? Kate, I'm going to give you the alley for your call to action. Where should people go to learn more about this, to read it, and how do you want them to engage with TL?
TLC as a coalition and a convener really is the place where people can connect more to understanding these issues and seeing how they can help. We are working on a collective impact approach for digital equity in Philadelphia, and we need everyone at the table helping us to think through how we are going to approach this issue collectively so that we are working in a way that is aligned, that is effective, and that where we can demonstrate the progress that we're making towards this issue and demonstrate where there are still gaps and work to meet those gaps. And so we invite people to visit our website, tlcphilly.org, or connect with us on social media to learn more about this issue and see how you can get involved.
Wonderful. Well, thank you both for the conversation today. I must say, like, also just on behalf of the broader community, knowing how hard this work is to build coalitions and keep people going, just want to say thank you so much for all that you do to ensure that all Philadelphians are getting the access that they need. So I am looking forward to see how people respond to this report and all the great work that will come as a result of your effort.
Well, thank you for all the work that you do with our tech community and your partnership with us on this report.
I appreciate the opportunity to be able to write this report and be able to share that with the community as well.
Thank you both.
Yeah.